At 3, you're on.
Oh, my clock just ticked over.
Open the hearing.
You ready? Okay.
Yep.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Item 22 is a hearing on the State Highway Operation and Protection Program guidelines. Per the interim SHOP guidelines that were adopted in June 2017, the SHOP guidelines may be amended after conducting at least one public hearing. At the May 2019 CTC meeting, we presented draft SHOP guidelines. We have received 2 letters from stakeholders regarding the guidelines, and those letters were provided to you as a yellow. One comment we received was that regional planning agencies would like to be involved earlier in the process of developing projects included in the SHOP. To address this concern, we've included the following language in the guidelines. In Section 10, SHOP preparation, the language we included was, it is the Commission's expectation that the department will perform outreach and gather input from local partners in the development of the SHOP. This should include, but not be limited to, stakeholder input on the State Highway System Management Plan, the SHOP 10-year project book, and the selection of new projects to be included in the 4-year SHOP program. In Section 25, project initiation documents, development of the project initiation documents should include input from local stakeholders as appropriate. In Section 26, project selections, stakeholder input should be considered when selecting projects for the SHOP document. Tabs 89, 90, and 91 to be presented later in the meeting are proposed modifications to 3 resolutions related to the guidelines. And tab 92 will be the presentation of the SHOP guidelines for your consideration. This concludes my introductory staff presentation. I'm happy to take any questions at this time. Otherwise, staff recommends opening the hearing for public comments.
Okay, if I need to gavel open the hearing, I will. I have one public comment. Kenneth Cow.
Thank you, Commissioners. Kenneth Cow with MTC. I just wanted to thank Commission staff for working with us on our comments. We worked offline with Terry and her staff and with Caltrans on some of our thoughts, and we're happy to see that a number of those were included. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, any comments from the dais? No? Then we'll close the public hearing, right? This was an information item,
yep.
So we will then move on. We now are at item 25. So Garth, I think you're going to cue that up.
Thank you, Commissioner. Tab 25 is an action item and is identified as a yellow in your agenda package. As we heard at our May 16th joint meeting with the Air Resources Board, the proposed federal rule to lower vehicle fuel efficiency standards, known as a Safer, Affordable, Fuel-Efficient Vehicles Rule, or SAFE rule, will have an impact on project delivery, the economy, the environment, and public health. Staff has prepared 2 letters today for your consideration, one to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and US EPA, and another to California's congressional delegation. Those are identified as attachments A and B in your agenda package. The basic intent of both letters is to highlight the Commission's concern regarding the impacts of the SAFE rule and to go on record that this rule will result in negative impacts not only to California, but to the rest of the country. Also included in the book item for your information are attachments C, D, and E, and these are 3 letters from ARB, a coalition of 15 California labor and business organizations, and then also from CalCog. And they as well express their concerns regarding the impacts of the SAFE rule. Staff would also like to thank CalCog for organizing a meeting yesterday on the SAFE rule with ARB staff and the regions. Fortunately, both Chair Inman and Executive Director Branson were able to be there, and I know Commissioner Dunn called in as well. There's some really good dialogue, and we look forward to continued communication and coordination with CalCog, our regional partners, and I'd also like to include Caltrans in that as well. But before Commissioners, before you take action on attachments A and B, staff has invited Tanisha Taylor from CalCog to provide us with an update on the SAFE rule. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tanisha before you do look at or take action on the attachments.
Thank you, Garth. Chair Inman, members of the commission, thank you for the opportunity to talk before you today. First, I would like to say we support submission and of the letters before you, and thank you for drafting those. Regional transportation agencies continue to express significant concern with the proposed rule and are working to assess and mitigate potential risk should the rule be finalized. And I know you heard from Vince Mamano from Federal Highway Administration that there's a milestone on August 3rd. That is the first of many milestones in the Safe Vehicle Rule process. On August 3rd, if the two MPOs that we've talked about haven't met that milestone, which they will, they would effectively not have plans. Meeting that milestone means that we start to talk about the project-specific impacts that we have been talking about to date. And so the discussions that we've had to date don't change if the Safe Vehicle Rule is proposed. There still is the potential for project-level impacts. There still is the potential for those 2,000 projects to be delayed or lose funding. And those we'll know what those impacts are based on what the Safe Vehicle Rule actually says and the time frame in which it is implemented. By means of an update, on June 20th, the House Energy and Commerce Subcommittees on Energy and Commerce and Subcommittee on Environment and Climate Change held a joint hearing titled Driving in Reverse, the Administration Rollback of Fuel Economy and Clean Car Standards. Yesterday, June 25th, the chairs and ranking committee members of that subcommittee submitted a bipartisan letter to EPA Administrator Wheeler and DOT Secretary Chow calling for all parties to return to the negotiating table. In sending the letter, the joint subcommittees acknowledged there were differing views about the Constitution, mainly states' rights and the rules of interstate commerce clause, the importance of climate, and how best to make sure the economies of the auto sector are strong, along with the traditional and vital question of road safety, while acknowledging bipartisan support for returning to the negotiating table. So even though they don't agree on why, they do agree that everyone should return to the negotiating table on the Safe Vehicle Rule. That is consistent with the union of auto workers. That is consistent with the automakers as well. At 7 a.m. this morning, EPA Air Chief Bill Wareham, who did provide testimony on June 20th at that workshop and thought to be the architect of the Safe Vehicles Rule, abruptly resigned, effective at the end of the month. It is too soon to determine what effect, if any, his departure will have on the finalization of the rule. So as I indicated yesterday at the work group meeting with the MPOs, this rule continues to change, and the dynamics and the politics of the rule continue to change daily. Let's see, interviews of US EPA and DOT representatives Wareham and King indicated that the rule could move to the Office of Management and Budget within the next 2 weeks. The Office of Management and Budget is one of the last steps to finalization of the rule. US EPA Representative Wareham also indicated that the direction from the White House was to finish the rule and finish the rule quickly. As Garth's indicated, there have been many letters. There's one letter from the 17 major automakers urging NHTSA and EPA and Governor Newsom to find middle ground. There's a letter from Transportation California laborers that join the opposition. CARB has penned a letter. CalCUC has penned a letter, which is on our website if you'd like to view that. That letter does outline the impacts to transportation as well as the projects that may be impacted. Each of those lists is on our CalCUC website. So in terms of next steps, we will continue to reach out to the California Congressional Delegation, and we appreciate your letter to the California Congressional Delegation as well. We will continue our coordination to coordinate with your staffs as well as staff from the California Air Resources Board and Caltrans, and the regions will continue to assess and manage risk. And we'll also continue to provide additional updates as information becomes available, because as you can see, it's a day-to-day change with what the politics, what the flavor of the month is with the Safe Vehicle Rule. So in closing, thank you for your leadership, and we support the letters before you today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Yes, questions? Commissioner Downer.
Quick question. How many other states are joining with California in our position on this?
There are, I believe, 17 other states have joined, and 13 of those follow our standards.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So anybody who's watching us remotely, if you're not up to speed on this, I would encourage you, don't think that's somebody else's problem. It's going to be all of our problem. And Tanisha, thank you. We can't thank you enough for waking all of us up. And I really am thankful for your career journey, because we're all benefiting from your time serving as an air district regulator. And I think for all of us, for all of our staff, if you please will think about everything you do and what might be impacted. What we learned from the meeting yesterday is we're going to be in this gray area of unknowns. There are so many question marks. It's not where you really want to be. I kind of described it as a purgatory kind of concept. You're kind of in limbo, and I'm not sure exactly how we will be able to deliver to the people of California what we have promised. So I would just challenge all of our staffs to make sure that we check regularly. And then Tanisha has agreed to be the clearinghouse, right, on information. Is that how it's going? Could I ask you, in this age of wonderful technology, could you make a little distribution list, and if we voluntarily sign up to get the latest info that you have, because it is moving so quickly, it would be helpful for all of us to know that we're current as we can be. So.
I can do that. I will say I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks, so if you don't hear from me, it's because I'm not in the office. But definitely, we can continue to make that list as well as provide updates to the group.
Well, I think we better clone you, girlfriend. So. Okay, so this is an action item. Move it. Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Tavaloni, a second by Commissioner Alvarado. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? But abstaining. That motion carries. Thank you very much. Appreciate the work you and Garth and everybody has done on this. So now we're going to move to the information calendar. Chris?
Yes, Commissioners, the next 11 agenda items, items 26 through 36, are informational items deemed by Commission staff not to raise any issues. Please note there is a yellow replacement item for attachment 1 of item 30 as outlined on your changes to the agenda list. Individual items on the information calendar will not be presented unless specifically requested by a Commissioner.
A question. Chris, does this section include the surf rider, the information on the ridership? Is that one of these items? I couldn't find it real fast. I didn't mark it. I have a question on the ridership. I think it's under 33.
Madam Chair, I would ask if there's someone here from Caltrans to speak on the rail report.
So the question I have is on the surf rider, the ridership decline, I think, was 7.5%. That was kind of going in the wrong direction, in my opinion. I wanted to know if you could share any insight on what happened, if we had a closure or something that we can directly attribute that to, or what's happening.
Okay. Unfortunately, it's the way the report looks at the data, because what we do is we compare the period of time last year from July to March of 2018. And then this report goes from July of 2018 to March of 2019. And in that time frame last year, that we had that impacted the surfliner was the Montecito mudslide, which, because of the closure of that, it drove people to the train, so ridership was up.
Okay.
All right, but this year, that slide's been fixed, and the ridership's being adjusted. So it looks really, not well. I don't want to say bad.
Yeah.
But that's one of the main reasons why the ridership on the Pacific Surfliner looked as it did. It has the highest ridership of all of Amtrak's lines. So again, it's just the incidences or the issues that pop up throughout the year, which kind of sometimes skews the data, what the picture looks like.
Okay, that's fine. In the future, if you could just give us a little asterisk footnote so we'd understand that, because I think generally speaking, a 7.5 decline all our eyebrows are going to go up and say, what's going on? We want it to increase by 7.5%, which is what I think the Capital Corridor did, so, yeah.
Yes, the Capital Corridor.
Yeah. Okay, well, that makes sense. Thank you very much, appreciate that clarity. Okay, Chris?
Yes,
Those are information, right?
That is the information calendar. So consent calendar, Commissioners, there are 32 agenda items, items numbers 37 through 68 on the consent calendar. Please note there are changes to item number 40 and item number 51 as documented on the changes to the agenda list. With these noted changes, Commission staff recommends the Commission approve items number 37 through 68 on the consent calendar.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tavallone, a second by Commissioner Gilmetti. Is there a discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining. That motion carries. Now I'm going to ask you all to go to tab 136. We have a request to take item 136. So if we can jump out of sequence there, everybody turn to that page. And that is Dawn, right?
Yes.
Okay, you're ready to go.
So item 136 is an action item to approve a construction allocation of $64,919,000 in STEP funds and trade corridor enhancement funds for the Route 132 Expressway Phase 1 project in Stanislaus County. Staff has reviewed this request and finds it consistent with program guidelines. Therefore, staff recommends your approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Van Konynenberg, a second by Commissioner Tavallone. This was a request for timing when we have a guest speaker on this one too. So, Bill, come on up. Okay, we have two guest speakers. Perfect. Oh. Oh, come on.
Thank you very much, Commissioners and everyone. My name is Bill Zalaki. I'm a City Council member with the City of Modesto, as well as past chair for Stanislaus Council of Government. With me is Councilmember Jenny Knoyer. She sits with me on our dais, and we make a lot of decisions. And this one we have been working very diligently to move it forward, and now it's before you. She is also a member of StanCog. What I wanted to point out was, also we have our staff here from StanCog, a number of our staff, and the City of Modesto. If you just all stand so you can be recognized, and of course, Rosa Park, our Executive Director of StanCog. We are excited, as you can tell. We are very excited because this is a rare day for Stanislaus County. And not only that, Vince Mamano is in the house here visiting us. And where is he still here? Oh, there he is. There he is. Okay, so I wanted to, that made me excited when I saw him walk up here. But in any case, as we're working through Highway 132, it seems like just yesterday this project was conceived. It was 1956.
Perfect.
I was 3 years old, riding my tricycle down the sidewalk, thinking about a new road that was going to come into Modesto and Stanislaus County and serve the east-west link. And then the dog chased me back home. But in any case, it was many years ago, this $64,919 that is before you is the final piece. And on July the 3rd of this year, this project goes out for advertisement. As I say in the construction world, it's going to bid, baby. And not only is it going to bid, the next day you will see in Stanislaus skies fireworks going up everywhere. Some people might say it's the 4th of July. No, it's not a coincidence. It's because 132 is a reality and is going to be built. And I wanted to take a few moments and thank you, Commissioners. I know how much you give of your time and your service for our state to provide for transportation, and you've helped us get this project over the finish line. Also, Caltrans, who's helped with all of our transportation projects, have worked just hand in glove with us to get this project forward. Some said it couldn't be done. What we did, we started as a self-help county, we got self-help dollars, and in 3 years, we went from no chance at all to reality of making it happen. It didn't just happen overnight. It took a lot of help, a lot of partners to make it happen. It's an east-west corridor. It brings 99 and I-5 eventually, when we get all three parts put together, as a interconnecting trade corridor. We received Tiger Grant from our feds. We received SB1 from, thank you, they're gone now, but Assemblymember Frazier and a Senator Bell for making SB1 happen and then sustaining it for all the voters in California that made it sustained. What a terrific piece, because now we can actually build projects in our state. So all of that, what I am saying, thank you for your diligent service and providing and getting this project after 63 years. It's going to start sometime. We'll break ground. It might be in October when there's a CTC meeting in Stanislaus County. We may be just breaking ground. And if we do, we're going to invite you all there. Thank you for giving us a few moments to express our appreciation and excitement. Jen, did you want to say
you can thank St. Paul of Modesto.
I just want to say that we really are very thankful. I was quite a few years older when it happened. I was actually graduating from high school, so it's been a long time. And thank you so much. We, if without you, we wouldn't have this, and without you doing this today, it probably wouldn't have happened. And so thank you very much, and we just look forward to working with you more and more.
Okay, any more discussion? If not, we need to vote. So, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining. Motion carries. Did you get that, Bill? Okay, now we're going to go back, flip back on your agendas, please. And we are on what number? 69. Okay. Jose.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and members of the public. Item 69 is an action item. This is the final EIR for the Mid-County Parkway in Riverside County. The Riverside County Transportation Commission adopted a statement of overriding considerations, finding that the benefits outweigh the impacts. Staff recommends your approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tavallone, a second by Commissioner Alvarado. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? That motion carries. Item 70, Jose?
Item 70 is an action item. This is the final EIR for the Natural Resources Trail Safety Program project in San Francisco County. The San Francisco County Recreation and Park Commission and the San Francisco County Planning Commission adopted a statement of overriding considerations, finding that the benefits outweigh the impacts. Staff recommends your approval.
We had a motion by Commissioner Gilmetti, a second by Commissioner Tavallone. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? By abstaining, that motion carries. Jose, you're up again, 70.
Item 71 is an action item. This is the final EIR for the Pier GJ double track project in Los Angeles County. The Long Beach Board of Harbor Commissioners adopted a statement of overriding considerations, finding that the benefits outweigh the impacts. Staff recommends your approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tavallone, a second by Commissioner Dunn. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? That motion carries. Item 72, Jose.
Item 72 is an action item. This is the final EIR for the road and safety improvements on State Route 70 project in Yuba County. Caltrans determined that environmental impacts could be mitigated to less than significant levels. Staff recommends your approval.
Move it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Alvarado, a second by Commissioner Gilmetti. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? But abstaining? That motion carries. Terry, 73.
Commissioners, item 73 is an action item to approve a director's deed for property located in Los Angeles County under the Roberti Act and Affordable Sales Program. The property is currently vacant, and under the department's program regulations, the first priority for vacant property is to offer it to a housing-related entity. Pursuant to the regulations, the City of Pasadena has designated the City of Pasadena as the housing-related entity for properties within the boundaries of the City of Pasadena. It's the responsibility of the housing-related entity to determine a reasonable price for the property that would allow a feasible use of the property as decent, safe, and sanitary housing at affordable rents and affordable prices. The entity's reasonable price exceeds the department's minimum sales price established for the property, which is the original acquisition price adjusted for inflation. Commission staff has reviewed the policies and statutes related to the Roberti regulations and recommends approval of this item.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tavallone, a second by Commissioner Alvarado. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining. That motion carries. Terry, item 74.
Okay, item 74 is an action item requesting to allow the North Coast Railroad Authority to sign a 25-year non-exclusive lease with the City of Blue Lake to use the railroad right-of-way to construct and maintain a multimodal public path. In 2018, Senate Bill 1029 revised Government Code Section 93020 to require the California Transportation Commission's approval without exception for any sale, easement, or lease entered into by the North Coast Railroad Authority after August 1st, 2018. The City of Blue Lake was awarded an active transportation program grant to complete phase 1 of a non-motorized path within this corridor. Commission staff has reviewed the legislation and the proposed lease agreement and recommends approval.
Okay, so the motion was Commissioner Gardino and the second by Commissioner Dunn. Any discussion? Oh, it was Gilmetti had the second, I'm sorry. So any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining. That motion carries. Okay. Chris.
Commissioners, item number 75 is a department action item requesting approval to directly negotiate a long-term airspace lease with 1911 San Diego LLC. There's a yellow replacement item for this agenda item as noted on the changes to the agenda list. The proposed subject lease area is approximately 700 square foot undeveloped parcel located on Interstate 5 in the city of San Diego where Noel Street crosses underneath the freeway. The proposed lessee will provide improvements within the right-of-way that will substantially improve the site, create a parking facility that will provide a long-term revenue stream to the state, provide increased security within the area, and reduce maintenance costs within the state's right-of-way. Commission staff has reviewed this item and recommends commission approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kehoe, and a second by Commissioner Dunn. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Anybody abstaining? I'm sorry, I didn't ask that. So, motion carries. Okay, we're good. Move on. Chris?
Commissioners, item number 76 is a department action item. Caltrans is requesting approval of an airspace lease with the City of Oakland for an emergency temporary shelter and feeding program for a term of 3 years at a cost of $1 per month with an annual administration fee of $500. The proposed lease area is located adjacent to Interstate 880 in the City of Oakland at 6th Street between Madison and Oak Streets. The City of Oakland will install emergency shelters and other supporting improvements for homeless city residents and ensure safe and sanitary conditions at the proposed shelter location. Additionally, all emergency shelters will be at least 20 feet outside of the bridge structure's drip line. Assembly Bill 3139 added Streets and Highway Code Section 104.24, allowing the City of Oakland to lease this property from Caltrans at a rate of $1 per month. Although these lease values are legislated, the lease rate does not constitute the fair market lease rate required by Commission resolution. The lease approval requires a unanimous vote by the Commission. Commission staff has reviewed the legislation and the proposed lease agreement and recommends Commission approve this item.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gilmetti, a second by Commissioner Van Konynenberg. Is there discussion? Yes, Commissioner Van Konynenberg.
The second was by
the second was
Gardino.
Thank you.
I just want to just reemphasize that the City of Oakland will be responsible for dealing with all sanitary conditions, including restroom facilities, shower facilities, capture of gray water, and that would be clearly delineated in any agreement that's put together.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Thank you.
And if I could just add on that one, make sure that we have adequate air quality protection, just because this is a vulnerable population, and that emissions from transportation are part of our challenge we're trying to solve. So.
And I could have Jennifer Loudon come up and speak about that if you would like, but that has been addressed.
I think we should hear commissioners from Jennifer Loudon. She's here.
Okay. Jennifer.
As Jennifer makes her way forward, I'd just like to compliment Caltrans and the City of Oakland for working together on such an important effort and implementing that legislation that was passed.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Chair. I am Jennifer Loudon. I'm the Division Chief for Right-of-Way and Land Surveys. We did work with the California Air Resources Board, and they took a look at the language that was in the lease that we had already had and determined that the language that we had in the lease was sufficient. We also have a pamphlet that CARB has available that we'll be providing to the locals who are interested in having these type of leases and taking that forward, and they'll have that information right from CARB.
Commissioner.
Absolutely, our leases, as Chris stated, our leases have 38 pages worth of coverage, specifically including the sanitary, the gray water, all of those things. And one of the things is that we identify that the locals are coming to the department in looking for these particular areas for this particular use. It isn't like the department is going out and offering these particular areas. They're specifically coming to us for those specific uses. And there are, I believe it's 6 different bills that have language for specific localities to be able to do this. So it's limited in scope at this time.
And do you have the resources to enforce the terms of the lease?
We do inspections of those leases on a regular basis of those areas. And if we see that there are concerns because we see that they're not keeping it cleaned up, or we see that whatever it is that we see, then we'll go out and inspect more frequently. But at this time, we do have the resources. We are tracking our resources very specifically related to these. Depending on how many localities want to take us up on this particular thing, we have concerns, and we've already been talking to the Department of Finance.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Gomedi.
Jennifer, I want to applaud the department and the City of Oakland to work together on this serious problem. But I guess my question has to do, there are a bunch of illegal settlements under Caltrans right-of-way existing right now. Is the department working with Oakland to either make them legal or clean them up? And
you know, that's something that I really can't speak to. Our maintenance facilities work with the different localities when it's in the operating right-of-way. So I specifically can't speak to that, but I do think that...
Lori may speak to it then.
Sure. So we are, look at a big part of what our maintenance workers are working on these days, and has been for quite some time, is cleaning up of illegal encampments. Tony can give you more specifics about what we're doing with the City of Oakland, but I think you all know this is a huge issue for the department.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Tony Tavares, the District 4 Director. So we are working in partnership with the City of Oakland, also the City of San Francisco. We have some great programs in place right now. We have one site specifically in Oakland at the North Gate off-ramp, and that used to be just a complete illegal encampment. It's been cleaned up. The city of Oakland is providing security, all of the sanitation, temporary housing, and then they're moving the individuals into transitional housing. So it's been a very successful program. We're working with other cities in the Bay Area also to do some delegated maintenance. So obviously the state is still responsible. We're removing these illegal encampments on a regular basis, but we're working with some of the cities to delegate some of that responsibilities to them as well.
Commissioner Alvarado and then Commissioner Dunn.
You know, and I'm going to support the motion, but this is a very troubling and big problem. The city of Oakland has really kind of taken this thing head on, and with these little, they have like a tough shed area, and they're really trying hard. Unfortunately, and they have a pretty good success rate with the people that are moving into this sheltered housing, and they make sure that with intervention and everything else, that these people move on, and they actually stay in apartments. They find them. They find a way to get these folks back on their feet. And unfortunately, for every one person or family that they do that for, two more take his or her place. So I think as little as this project is, it's going to go a long way just to start to try to solve the problem that we have.
Thank you. I will also support the motion. It is interesting to me that it's all over the state of California, right? This is a huge issue, and I think it's why our governor has focused on housing as a top priority. There's also a recent federal court decision that came down that prohibits communities that are not building sufficient housing for folks, that the no camping ordinances cannot be enforced on public property because homelessness is not a crime. So if our communities aren't building shelter, then these people cannot be moved out. There is no such thing as an illegal encampment on public property. You may have safety issues to contend with, which clearly along rail lines, et cetera, that's a huge issue. But we've got the same problem in LA with 60,000 people homeless on any one night of the week. One night of the week. And they're camping everywhere. And so once again, it requires that the work we do not only in transportation to be effective, because if you can't move people, homeowners won't allow their city councils to approve housing, even shelter for, homeless. Everything is interconnected, and this is where the rubber meets the road. But I just want, people don't understand, folks generally don't understand, it is not a crime to be homeless, particularly when your communities aren't building shelter for these folks. So, enough of my speech for the day. Thank you for this.
Chair Inman.
Yes, Commissioner Gardino.
Thank you. I want to build on the thoughtful comments of Commissioner Dunn. It's such a stark reminder that policies impact real people. And Director Taveras, you have been so responsive and positive in your ability to work with communities and elected leaders to solve such complex problems. I just want to thank you again for what you're doing in District 4, in Oakland, in this example, in San Jose as well, I believe in San Francisco, that were covered under that legislation, and truly appreciate what you and your team are doing.
Thank you.
Okay, any further comments? John Belinsky, I see you back there. Do you want to add anything given Los Angeles and the 60,000 homeless?
I would love to add something. John Belinsky, District Director for District 7, LA and Ventura counties. Yes, 60,000 individuals homeless, sleeping on the streets in LA County any night of the week. It is a crime. So we are working with our local cities and county to address this issue. Certainly we're taking a page from what's being done in District 4 and trying to utilize that and incorporate that into areas in District 7 as well.
Thanks, John. Okay. That was an action item, right? So we need to vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? That motion carries. We'll move on to Dawn, item 77.
Yeah, so item 77 is an information item on the SB1 third quarter report, and Caltrans is here to provide a short update on the status of the programs.
Good afternoon, Chair Inman and Commissioners. My name is Nabila Abi-Rashid, and I'm the Acting SB1 Program Manager for Caltrans. I have the pleasure of providing you with Caltrans' third quarter progress report for the 5 Senate Bill 1 programs as required by Senate Bill 1 Accountability and Transparency Guidelines adopted by the Commission. This report is for Commission actions through March 31st, 2019. Before I begin my update, I would like to bring to your attention 2 changes to the third quarter report that's in your packets. First off, for the 5 SB1 programs, the project lists, which are attachment 1, have been posted on the SB1 portal. Version 1, there's actually 2 versions for the attachment 1. Version 1 is an ADA compliant list, and version 2 has been organized so the information is consumable. The format is slightly different compared to second quarter. Moving forward, we are working to adjust the format to include color and formatting similar to the second quarter. Secondly, I wanted to point out, Commissioner Gilmetti at the last March CTC meeting had requested a short summary of identified projects with substantial changes. There are 2 projects that we have identified in the report that could have potential impacts to improve costs and/or schedule. Caltrans, along with our local partners, are proactively working with CTC staff on a resolution and a path forward. Both projects are summarized in the overall project summary section, and details for those projects are in the respective programs, which are LPP and TCEP in attachment 2. The Senate Bill 1 programs were adopted by the Commission last spring in 2018. The 5 Senate Bill 1 programs have made progress through Commission action, closing out the third quarter. Solutions for Congested Corridor has allocated 2 additional project segments, totaling 7 allocated project segments and $558 million SB1 dollars. Trade Corridor Enhancement Program has allocated 3 additional project segments, totaling 19 allocated project segments and $406 million SB1 dollars. In addition, 1 additional project was awarded in the third quarter, totaling to 4 awarded projects and $315 million SB1 dollars. Competitive Local Partnership Program has allocated 1 additional project segment, totaling to 13 allocated project segments and $90 million in SB1 dollars, and has awarded 4 additional project segments, now totaling to $67 million of SB1 money. For Formulaic Local Partnership Program, they have added 31 additional projects, totaling to 98 projects and $265 million. The SHOP program has been revised for this quarter report to show only program projects that are assumed to receive SB1 funding. These projects improve the condition of pavement, bridges, culverts, and transportation management system elements. Specific to the SHOP, the dollars shown in the table include additional funding sources. 483 projects have received allocations for various project phases. And lastly, ATP. ATP includes 54 projects funded with SB1 dollars adopted at the January 2019 Commission meeting, totaling to 198 projects programmed and $301 million SB1 dollars. With the additional SB1 funding being invested in our transportation infrastructure, we are tracking our project to demonstrate the achieved benefits. For Solutions for Congested Corridor, shown on the slide are all the projects that have been delivered. 7 project segments have been allocated, and 2 construction projects have been awarded and are expected to finish construction in summer 2021 in fall 2022. For the Trade Corridor Enhancement Program, we have 4 construction projects awarded. It is anticipated that 3 projects will complete construction and will open to traffic in fall 2021. The remaining project that was awarded this quarter is expected to complete construction in spring 2022. For the Local Partnership Program Competitive, 4 project segments have been awarded this quarter. 1 project is expected to finish construction at the end of the year. 6 projects will finish construction throughout the 2020 calendar year, and the remaining 1 will finish out in late 2021. The SHOP program has awarded 87 construction projects totaling to $1.6 billion. Of that, 16 projects were awarded this quarter, and 5 SHOP projects have completed construction and are open to traffic. With the 5 SHOP projects, we have achieved infrastructure benefit of 70 lane miles of pavement. The Active Transportation Program has awarded 31 construction projects totaling to $28 million. It is estimated that 52% of the 31 awarded projects will complete construction and be open to traffic in 2019, 29% in 2020, and 19% of the 31 in 2021. 1 project has already completed construction this year, and our infrastructure investment yielded 23 crosswalks. Lastly, I wanted to recognize the efforts with CalSmart and highlight the success in streamlining the reporting process. The department launched CalSmart reporting tool in March 2019, which is a statewide web-based reporting portal accessible to all our project sponsors in Caltrans. CalSmart allows us to streamline a reporting process by pre-populating information. This has reduced time to enter redundant information, reduced the potential for errors, and we have consistent and accurate information. Since the launch, we have received a considerable amount of positive feedback as well as constructive comments on how to improve and from various stakeholders. The most requested feature by our stakeholders was viewing capabilities. Since then, we have launched enhancements, and part of that was our ability to set up read-only accounts for our stakeholders, as well as tutorials on how to navigate through CalSmart. We are working on a short-term vision as well as a long-term vision for CalSmart and how to streamline other processes. This concludes my update, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have questions? If not, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on to Lori.
Commissioners, item 78 is an information item. Gary Gutierrez, the Caltrans Division of Local Assistance, SB1 Program Manager, will give a presentation on the 3rd quarter Active Transportation Program status report.
Good afternoon, Chair Inman, Commissioners. As Lori mentioned, my name is Gary Gutierrez. I'm the interim Division of Local Assistance, SB1 Program Manager, and it is a pleasure to stand before the Commission to present highlights of the Caltrans Active Transportation 3rd quarter progress report. Okay. To begin with, I'd like to point out that the 3rd quarter report captures activity that occurred from January 1st through March 31st, 2019. Notable progress was made when the Commission adopted the statewide and the small urban and rural program components, awarding over $280 million to 59 new projects for Cycle 4. I would like to point out that the 59 new projects do not include the MPO project components that were awarded in the May, or adopted in May meeting, nor do they include the California Conservation Corps components that will be adopted in this meeting. Project sponsors continue to maintain a strong reporting compliance Being new to local assistance, I must admit that I was amazed by the volume of work and the volume of workload that came in as we were compiling the reporting information. And I got to give a heads up or a shout out to the headquarters staff as well as the district staff that really supported the project sponsors to get their information in and to meet such a great compliance for reporting. I'd like to bring to the Commission's attention that the only project placed on the ATP watch list for the third quarter, the project sponsor was granted a 12-month construction allocation extension in June 2018. In November 2018, there was a discovery made in the project that triggered a minor scope change. The minor scope change had impacts to design, right-of-way, and environmental. And unfortunately, the project was not able to meet the June 2019 target to receive construction allocation. "31 completion reports were delivered between January 31st and March 31st. I'm sorry, January 1st and March 31st. This table that you see in front of you displays capital delivery improvements. The column to the left shows the capital improvement categories along with the units of measure. The center column shows what was delivered for the third quarter. And the right column shows what the total program has delivered to date. A primary outcome for the ATP are before and after user counts. In previous reports to the CTC, Caltrans recognized that the lack of standard count methodology resulted in unreliable data. I'm pleased to report that the ATP Technical Advisory Committee, which is comprised of a variety of local and regional representatives, stakeholders, Caltrans and CTC staff, developed interim count guidance that project sponsors can use to capture reliable and consistent user counts. Although originally scheduled and reported in that the rollout was going to occur July 20th, because of some new developments that have occurred, that schedule rollout is now August 19th, about a month later. I'd also like to point out that through the Active Transportation Resource Center, Caltrans will be able to offer counter equipment to be used by project sponsors on a loan basis. And we're still working out the details, but I look forward to reporting progress in the future to the Commission about that program. Time extensions do appear to be on an upward trend. Through some analysis, we've identified that time extensions occur in the environmental phase and in the right-of-way phase more than any other phase in the projects. To counter this trend, Caltrans is preparing a pre-application webinar for Cycle 5. The pre-application webinars will emphasize technical aspects of project development to help project sponsors create work plans that are balanced and account for risk. Lastly, we received 5 scope changes requests during the third quarter. 2 were determined to be minor scope changes, 3 still under evaluation and were not yet determined as of March 31st, 2019. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Commissioner Dunn.
Thank you, Gary. I'm so interested in this because we're spending so much money, and for me, success isn't just building the projects. That's important, but it is how many users are using them, and is it producing the goals that we're trying to accomplish with regard to congestion relief on highways, because people are taking alternative modes of transportation, and this appears to be popular. So it isn't just the counts, but I'm hoping that your analysis will include what those counts, where did they come from? Where did they take a car off the road, for example, or was it just for health benefits, which is still important because I think that's in the legislation that health was a critical component. But so it's a little bit more of a deeper dive. I hope you would take a look at those. And then the other thing is something maybe for the commission, our staff to consider is should we be once again trying to pursue environmental exemptions for these projects so that they can move that much faster? I mean, my line is if you can do it for a sports stadium, why can't we do it for these projects and other projects in the state? So something to think about for staff in our ledge report again.
Right,
Thanks.
Commissioners, and Commissioner Dunn, we will definitely talk about, maybe there's a different way to craft our recommendations, so we'll work with you on that. It's very important that we're able to move these projects forward timely. Okay.
Any further discussion? Nope. Thank you very much. Okay, we are ready now to move on to 79. Chris?
Yes, Commissioners, item number 79 is an information item on the project delivery quarterly report for the third quarter of fiscal year 2018 and 19. Government code requires the department to report to the Commission quarterly for projects that have completed construction in the previous quarter. The report contains information on the approved capital and support budgets compared to expenditures at contract construction exception for all major state highway operation and protection program projects. Mike Keever from the department will be presenting highlights from the report to the Commission today.
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mike Keever, Caltrans Project Management, reporting on the third quarter delivery progress as we're in the final week of the fourth quarter. While I'm here with you enjoying yet another CTC meeting, there are a whole bunch of people working really hard. We still have, as of last night, 38 projects that we need to deliver by July 1st. It's not lost on us that July 1st is a Monday, so there will be a number of us working hard through the weekend to get these projects delivered. But let me talk to you a little bit about where we are through the third quarter. And I'll be talking about the delivery through all of the phases. And what I wanted to emphasize is part of what we're trying to do more and more early on is to try to flush out our issues earlier in the process so that the risk and uncertainty can be identified. Again, I've talked about this before in our workshop in other places, but before we get to construction, when most of the dollars are spent, and that's when our risk is the greatest. And so you're going to see a number of the book items that follow my presentation where new information will have been produced, whether it's through public input, whether it's through resource agency discussions, or through analysis and design. And the intent is to try to identify those issues and make those adjustments and changes as early in the project delivery process as we can. And then try to know what we don't know when we start the project. So looking at our performance measures thus far, so this is through the third quarter. You have a more comprehensive full report that goes with this. This is just a summary of the results in the report. But we're basically where we typically are at this point through the third quarter, with the exception of the right-of-way capital. And so we're making progress in getting our right-of-way certification, so no projects are being delayed, but our prediction of what we needed for the right-of-way in our annual right-of-way capital allocation was different than what we've actually needed as the projects have progressed. Right now, though, we're looking at trying to complete the delivery of the 263 projects. One of the things that this time last year, Director Berman sat down with all the district directors, and there was an intentional action taken with the plans to take a greater level of risk. And so when I give you the fourth quarter report, I would anticipate that you're going to see the number of projects that we deliver. It's not going to be 99% anymore. What we wanted to do intentionally was to try to take a higher level of risk. And what we find overall is projects get delivered earlier by taking that risk, bringing these projects to a head, working through all of those issues. But you do have a higher chance that some of those projects will get pushed out beyond the end of the fiscal year. And what we'll report to you, but what you'll find typically is most of them are within a month or so of the end of the fiscal year, and we'll get those projects delivered. And so I'll report to you on that when I give the fourth quarter report. But Director Berman just signed contract for delivery for next year, and with the same strategy. So we're trying to be more aggressive, so you can expect that to be reflected in the reports in the future. Through the third quarter, at the end of construction, to kind of see how we do, so we take all of the information that we have from beginning to end of project, and we look at our budget. We completed 17 STIP projects through the third quarter, 9% over the budgeted amount, and on the 205 shop projects we've completed, those were done within 90% of the budgeted amount. And we compare that to our 5-year average. You have in the report a list of risks that we're managing and tracking. This is a summary of the capital budget risks right now. So keeping in mind that we have currently 759 projects in construction valued at over $9 billion, and in the pre-construction phase, we currently have 1,236 projects. So just to give you a scale, both in the book items to come before you, the supplementals that we bring before you, and the risks that we manage, most of these risks will be successfully managed, and we won't need to come back to you for a CTC action. But again, some of these 2,000 projects that I'm talking about, some of them will. And this is part of the strategy of trying to take a greater level of risk. If we're not coming to you at all, we're probably not taking an appropriate level of risk. So right now, we're tracking about $93 million that are in our watch list of just the capital budget through the various phases. Just looking at how we've done so far this year, the supplementals to award, I'm sure you recall early in the fiscal year, we got behind the market, if you will. The bids were going up faster than we were able to adjust. And so we had greater than our record of the past 5 years. Right now we have about 7.5% of our projects have come back to you for a supplemental to award. In terms of dollars, about 2% of the dollars we're required to make those awards. As I presented to you at the last meeting, our engineer's estimate now has come back in the other direction, where now the bids are coming in below our engineer's estimate. So part of that is our adjustment to the market, but also the market may also still be adjusting and going in the other direction. So we continue to track that. For the supplementals to complete construction, so far this year we've had just one. And so again, we have, if you look at your risk watch list, in all those various phases, we are identifying risks, but for the most part, within our authority, we're able to effectively manage those risks and come back with a relatively small amount, given the size of the program, coming back to you for a specific action. That concludes my third quarter report.
We have questions? Yes, Commissioner Van Konynenberg.
Thank you, Mike. Currently, what's the milestone or what is the threshold that someone is required before a programming action to go walk a job? I'm kind of relating to item number 81 is going to come up here, where after we've done an allocation, we're doing quite a bit of modification to the allocation because a lot of things that weren't seen in the beginning were seen after there was a job walk. So what's the threshold right now, and how could project delivery be improved if we had, at some dollar level or project size, a requirement for an engineer to go walk the job?
So going out to the field, I would say I call that, I guess, a best practice, but I'd like to think of it, for most of our projects, it's a standard practice. I don't believe in most cases that we're not going out to the field. I think the question is really the timing. When are we going out to the field? And then who's involved in that? So you referenced, for instance, an engineer, and probably we need to have engineers that go out to the field, but we also need to have our right-of-way folks. We need to be those that are going to be doing our environmental studies. And it goes back to that issue I was trying to bring up with regard to fleshing out issues as early as you can. Certainly going out to the field is encouraged. Sometimes you have to go more than once. But I think you are seeing reflected when we do come back to you, and I think this is the basis for your question. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but there are things that that we identify that kind of beg the question, could we have identified those earlier through a field assessment? And it's a fair question.
Well, I guess my question is there like a checklist right now of when you're doing a project that's, say, a $5 million to $20 million project? Okay, here are the things we need to accomplish, or is it left to the discretion of the individual engineer whether or not to go do a field walk prior to putting together the programming request?
It's been a while since I've been a project engineer, but it was certainly on my checklist. I don't know if we have a standardized checklist for that. But even now, when we're bringing the book items to you, we do have a checklist in preparing our book items. And one of the things we ask them to address is, did you do a field assessment, a field walk, and when, in what phase did that occur? That's asking after the fact. So
I guess I'm saying, as you as the project delivery guy, and recommending to all the different districts, you know, hey, here's the best practices of field delivery. Is there, is there as you look at it, are you looking at, okay, I want to drive down here what our best practices are on this issue?
Yeah, I'll take this issue, Commissioner, I'll take this issue back and talk to the districts and look through our practices and see if there is a specific milestone that we want to make sure it is on our checklist. Okay. That way we know and we have a record of our field investigations. Yeah. Again, I don't want to leave the impression that we're not going out to the field. I do believe it is a standard best practice, but I don't know that it's documented. And we also are going through a generational change. It would be good for our new staff to understand that that is a best practice and an expectation.
Thank you.
And this particular item involved a standard change.
Your microphone. Yeah.
And this particular item involved a standards change. So the standard changed mid.
Yes, and a recognition that corrosion was going to be an ongoing issue that you saw. And I refer back to the issue of the bridge that we were painting and didn't realize there was a railroad that went under it. So that was an item 2 meetings ago where it was quite a bit, it was a big change, and had someone gone out and said, oh yeah, we're going to need a whole bunch of more construction support on this because of how we're going to have to cantilever off this thing to paint this bridge, we would have noticed that. So it's just one of those things where
Okay, everybody good? Okay, thank you, Mike. Okay, we'll now move on. Chris, you're up again. Item 80, please.
Yes, Commissioners, item number 80 is a department action item. There are changes for this agenda item as noted on the changes to the agenda list. Caltrans is requesting an initial construction allocation of $2,563,000, which exceeds the programmed amount by more than 20%, and $913,000 in construction support for this project. This initial construction allocation is based on an updated engineer's estimate. The U.S. Highway 101 Linden-Casitas Pass project is the $60 million parent project for this highway mitigation project and will provide key bridge replacements and safer on and off ramp connections in preparation for the widening of U.S. Highway 101 and future addition of a carpool lane. Additionally, Santa Barbara County area of governments and the department will be investing $850 million through various Senate Bill 1 competitive and formulaic programs in this corridor. Approval of this request at this time will allow the mitigation project to move forward and ensure the parent project remains in compliance with the permit requirements for the Senate Bill 1 corridor improvement projects scheduled for delivery in fiscal years 1920 and 2021. Commission staff have reviewed this allocation request and recommend Commission approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gometti, a second by Commissioner Taloloni. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? By abstaining, that motion carries. Move on to item number 81. Chris?
Commissioners, item number 81 is a department action item. Please note there is a yellow replacement for this agenda item and changes to this item as noted on changes to the agenda list. Caltrans is requesting an initial construction allocation of $8,465,000, which exceeds the programmed amount by more than 20%, and $3,037,000 in construction support for this project. This initial construction allocation is based on the updated engineer's estimate. This shop project located on State Route 1 in Los Angeles County at the McClure Tunnel will enhance the original tunnel lighting and paint the interior of the tunnel to enhance visibility and improve safety. The tunnel was built in 1935 and needs major safety upgrades that include the installation of a dynamic message sign, which is part of a queue warning system, a maintenance vehicle pullout, high friction surface treatments, and a guardrail upgrade. The project will also include a fiber optic connection to the traffic management center. The primary reason for the increased capital cost on this project were the implementation of a new tunnel lighting standard. Implementation of the new standard required Caltrans to use advanced technology light fixtures and resulted in significant changes to the electrical supply system and increases in the number of light fixtures required. Additionally, the cost associated with the addition of corrosion-resistant hardware and the fiber optic cable connection to the TMC were not included in the previous estimates or preliminary estimates. Commission staff have reviewed this allocation request and recommend Commission approval.
I'll move it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dunn, a second by Commissioner Alvarado. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? But abstaining, that motion carries. Item 81, please, Chris.
This would be item 82, Chairman.
82, sorry.
Okay. Commissioners, item number 82 is a department action item. There are changes for this agenda item as noted on the changes to the agenda list. Caltrans is requesting an initial construction allocation of $8,800,000, which exceeds the programmed amount by more than 20%, and $3,074,000 in construction support for this project. This initial construction allocation is based on the updated engineer's estimate. This shop project is located in Los Angeles County on various routes. The project will improve stormwater drainage systems at 9 separate locations and includes replacement of the existing pumps and an upgraded power supply and control system necessary to operate the pumps. The increased capital costs on this project are due primarily to a change in design criteria for the replacement pumps. The pumps being replaced were designed for a 25-year storm event, and the replacement pumps must be designed to handle a 50-year storm event, which resulted in enhancements to improve the power supply and control system for the pumps. The increase in construction support costs are primarily due to the addition of staff and resources needed to deliver the project based on the new requirement to improve the power supply and control systems instead of just replacing the existing pumps. A much larger effort to perform equipment and source inspection with the manufacturing companies is required. Additional coordination with 2 electrical power suppliers and the need to coordinate and obtain temporary construction easements and construction permits will also require additional staff effort. Commission staff have reviewed this allocation request and recommend Commission approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tavaloni, a second by Commissioner Dunn. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? But abstaining? That motion carries. Chris, 83.
Yes, Commissioners, item number 83 is a department action item requesting an additional $1,234,000 in supplemental capital outlay support funds. This bridge rail replacement project, located near the communities of Lucerne, Upper Lake, and Cobb in Lake County, will provide upgraded bridge barriers at the Robinson Creek Bridge on State Route 29, the Morrison Creek Bridge on State Route 20, and demolish and replace the Kelsey Creek Bridge on State Route 175. This project was split off from a project originally programmed to replace barrier rails on 5 bridges. Caltrans determined it was necessary to split the larger scope project to minimize the risk of delays due to environmental permits and to facilitate faster delivery for 2 of the bridges in the original scope. The program capital outlay support funds for the PNED of the split portion of the project was $200,000 and was based on a narrow scope of work and did not include the Morrison Creek Bridge. Caltrans determined moving this bridge out of the original project to split off the project that had 2 bridges with similar environmental challenges was the best option to ensure delivery of all 5 bridges from the original project. Commission staff has reviewed this allocation request and recommends Commission approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Alvarado, a second by Commissioner Tavaloni. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? But abstaining? That motion carries. We'll move on. Chris, you're up again. 84.
Yes, Commissioners, item number 84 is a department action item. There's a yellow replacement for this agenda item as noted on the changes to the agenda list. Caltrans is requesting an additional $4,346,000 to re-advertise and award this construction contract on U.S. Highway 101 in Marin County. The project will replace the 77-year-old San Rafael Harbor Bridge with a new bridge with a service life of 75 years, and it will improve about 7,100 square feet of bridge from poor to good condition. The project will also provide horizontal alignment corrections, which will improve traffic flow and safety, provide standard shoulder widths, and add pedestrian curb ramps and crosswalks. Additionally, a left turn only lane at the off-ramp intersection will reduce mainline backup during peak traffic hours. Caltrans opened bids on the project on February 13, 2019. The low bidder was found to be non-responsive, and the allocated funding, including G12 authority, was not sufficient to award to the next low bidder. This is an accelerated bridge construction project. The estimated costs for the items of work for the bridge foundations, precast concrete, and structural concrete elements were not sufficient for current market conditions. Additionally, the lead time for the precast elements was not sufficient to complete project within 1 season. Caltrans has addressed these concerns by revising the engineer's estimate and will time the re-advertisement of this project to allow sufficient lead time for precast elements. Commission staff has reviewed this allocation request and recommends Commission approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gilmetti, a second by Commissioner Gardino. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining? That motion carries. Chris, 85.
Commissioners, item number 85 is a department action item. There is a yellow replacement for this agenda item as noted on the changes to the agenda list. Caltrans is requesting an additional $722,000 to re-advertise and award this construction contract on State Routes 108 and 120 in Tuolumne, Stanislaus, and Mariposa counties. This shop project will install centerline, edgeline, and shoulder rumble strips to reduce roadway departure crashes. The project performance goal is to reduce 54 collisions. Caltrans opened bids on the project on July 3rd, 2018, and received 4 bids for the project. The apparent low bidder was 61% above the engineer's estimate, and Caltrans decided to reject all bids and re-advertise the contract after reviewing the bid results and finding the second and third bidders to be non-responsive as well. Caltrans discussed the bid results with contractors and provided the following rationale for this decision. The bids came in high due to the advertisement of multiple similar rumble strip projects within a short period of time, and this also created a shortage of materials for the traffic striping items of work. Caltrans has addressed these concerns by revising the engineer's estimate to reflect current market conditions. Commission staff has reviewed this allocation request and recommends Commission approval.
Okay, we had a motion by Commissioner Tavallone and a second by Commissioner Van Kynenberg, I think. So any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining? That motion carries. We're on to item 86. Chris?
Yes, Commissioners, item number 86 is a department action item requesting an additional $454,000 in construction capital to award this contract. This minor A shop project near the city of Ketty and Plumas County on State Route 70 will restore fish passage at Soda Creek by constructing concrete fishways and baffles within an existing box culvert. The project implements an August 2015 agreement between Caltrans and the United States Forest Service to improve aquatic passage on sections of the Feather River by removing barriers created during construction work on State Route 70. Caltrans opened bids on the project on April 8, 2019, and 2 contractors submitted bids for this contract. However, the lowest qualified bid exceeded the allocated funds for the project. Caltrans discussed the bid results with contractors, and it appears the engineer's estimate undervalued the costs of construction of the rock slope protection, removal of the existing fish barrier, and temporary construction requirements to divert the stream and brace the culvert during construction of the new fishway. Commission staff has reviewed this allocation request and recommends Commission approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tavallone, a second by Commissioner Alvarado. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining? That motion carries. Teresa.
Commissioners, item 87 is an action item. The Peninsula Corridor Joint Powers Board is requesting an additional $27 million for the Peninsula Corridor Electrification Expansion Project. This is for the Caltrain Peninsula Corridor. The project was awarded for $164,522,000 in the 2018 Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program for the procurement of 37 new electric multiple units and associated infrastructure. The funding was to be split over multiple years as follows. Fiscal year 18-19, $31 million. Fiscal year 2021, $86,182,000. Fiscal year 23-24, $41,240,000. The Commission approved the first allocation in October 2018 for $31 million, which was estimated to be the initial payment. However, after negotiations with the contractor, the initial payment was higher than anticipated by $27 million. The amount requested will be reduced from the second payment, and the overall amount of the award does not change. Staff recommends your approval.
A motion by Commissioner Gardino, a second by Commissioner Kehoe. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining? That motion carries. We go now to item 88. Chris?
Yes, Commissioners, item number 88 is a department action item requesting the Cosumnes River Bridge Construction Manager General Contractor Project to be split during the programmed year of delivery. This will require an exemption to the shop guidelines. Caltrans has determined that there is a potential for 6 separate contract packages for this project, and separate construction packages can be designed and awarded while the design of other packages is ongoing. This will help Caltrans and the contractor to ensure construction can occur around the various environmental, utility, and right-of-way limitations for this project. Caltrans is requesting this flexibility to split the project in the year of delivery as a pilot project to demonstrate the benefits of the construction manager general contractor project delivery method and avoid having to split the projects into 6 separate contracts prior to understanding the complete scope of each package. Commission staff has reviewed this item and recommends Commission approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tavaloni, a second by Commissioner Dunn. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining? That motion carries. Terry, you're up. 89.
Okay, Commissioners, item number 89 is an action item to approve amendments to Resolution G1612. You should have received a revised pink copy of the book item in your packet. I omitted 2 words in there, so you have that, but it didn't change the meaning of it. Anyway, this resolution, often referred to as G12, is a resolution providing delegated authority to the Director of the Department of Transportation to adjust project allocations and modify project descriptions. The updated SHOP guidelines that are proposed for approval in item number 92 necessitated the need to provide amendments to the G12 resolution for consistency. The updated SHOP guidelines has a requirement that projects with a programmed right-of-way capital amount of $10 million or more would be required to come to the Commission for an individual project allocation. Due to that, a provision was added to the G12 resolution to address how increases to allocated right-of-way capital would be managed. Commission staff recommends approval of Resolution G1912.
We have a motion by Commissioner Alvarado, a second by Commissioner Tavaloni. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? That motion carries. Terry.
Okay, item number 90 is an action item to approve amendments to Resolution G0516. This resolution delegates authority to the Director of the Department of Transportation for suballocation and adjustment of the SHOP minor program. Again, the updated SHOP guidelines necessitated the need to provide amendments to the minor program resolution for consistency. Additionally, clarifying language was necessary to emphasize the requirement that SHOP minor projects be consistent with the Transportation Asset Management Plan. Commission staff recommends approval of this item.
Okay, so there was a motion by Commissioner Gilmetti and a second by Commissioner Tavaloni. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining? That motion carries. Item 91, Terry.
Item number 91 is an action item to approve amendments to Resolution G0109. This resolution delegates authority to the Director of the Department of Transportation for suballocation and adjustment of right-of-way projects programmed in the STIP and SHOP. The updated SHOP guidelines also brought about the necessity to make changes to this resolution. And as I previously stated, the significant change is a requirement that projects with a programmed right-of-way capital amount of $10 million or more would be required to come to the Commission for individual project allocation. Commission staff recommends approval of this item.
We've got some duets going on here. So we have a motion by Commissioner Tavaloni, a second by Commissioner Alvarado. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining? That motion carries. We're up to 92, please, Terry.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, item number 92 is an action item to approve the adoption of the State Highway Operation and Protection Program guidelines. This has been 8 months getting to here, so big sigh of relief on my part. And I do want to recognize that Caltrans has been a great partner in helping work through these guidelines, specifically Donna Berry. Commission staff held a workshop to discuss revisions to the SHOP guidelines on March 28, 2019. Subsequently, comments were considered and incorporated as necessary in the draft presented to the Commission at the May 2019 Commission meeting. Further edits to the draft presented at the May 2019 Commission meeting have been made through continued collaboration with the department and other stakeholders, and Commission staff would hope that you would approve this item. Would beg you.
I think there was a motion by Mr. Gilmetti, Commissioner Gilmetti, and a second by Commissioner Dunn. So how about discussion? Terry worked on this for 8 months, and we didn't even ask her a question. Yeah, let's do.
I think Terry covered it.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of Terry's 8 months' work? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? That motion carries. We move on now to 93. John.
I was hoping we would get to one of mine.
Here you are. Welcome.
Item 93 is an action item to approve baseline agreements for 8 SHOP projects. Approval of these agreements will establish them as the basis for project delivery and monitoring. Commission staff has reviewed these agreements and finds they are consistent with commission adopted guidelines and recommends approval.
We got you covered.
Please.
Well, there was a little delay here, but we had a motion by Commissioner Van Konynenberg, a second by Commissioner Alvarado. So, any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining? That motion carries. Item 94, John, please.
Okay, item 94 is a department action item requesting amendments to the 2018 SHOP. Note that minor changes to 6 projects on the change list relate to this item. Additionally, projects 2 through 6 on attachment 7 have been withdrawn as a result of the approval of item 88, the CMGC item. So the new totals are, we're still adding 29 new projects. We are now revising 138 projects and adding 3 new long lead projects. Staff has reviewed these amendments, and with the changes mentioned, we recommend commission approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dunn, a second by Commissioner Tavallone. Is there discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, Commissioner Van Konynenberg.
So John, I'd like to ask a question about page 18, project number 38. As I understand this project, it is 0.9 centerline miles of Highway 70. And the performance measure is pavement, moving 2.4 lane miles of pavement from fair to good. Could you walk me through the thought process from the asset management plan standpoint of how we're getting to spending $111 million on 0.9 centerline miles, and what the thought process is from the to investing such a high amount to move basically not from poor but from fair to good?
Commissioner, if I could suggest that we receive that answer in answer to your question from Caltrans.
That sounds like a great idea.
Okay.
Amarjeet.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Amarjeet Benipal, Caltrans District 3 Director. Some of you may had the opportunity to actually come to Paradise or visit Chico area when we actually visited that town, and may have traveled through Highway 70 corridor. This particular project is about 1 mile long or less than 1 mile long stretch, and it actually goes through a town where in this particular town happens to have actually railroad converged through this 1 mile section. There are 3 overhead crossings where we are going to be doing a rehabilitation, and that's going to require actually working with those railroads, and cost of this project is mostly associated with those bridge work, not necessarily the road work.
With the what work?
The railroad structures which we would have to relocate or reconstruct.
So you're reconstructing the railroad structures, like railroad going...
Railroad is overhead in this particular location. There are actually 3 railroad bridges within 1 mile long stretch where we are going to be doing roadway rehabilitation.
Okay, so
and
are you going to widen them or increase the clearance?
The existing clearance, if I think some of you may remember when we actually took the bus tour through this stretch, if you open the window, you can actually touch the side of the bridge because there are really no clearances. And over the last 2.5 years, we actually had 16 hits to those bridges, which resulted in shutting down not only Highway 70, but it resulted in shutting down the railroad freight corridor as well, because they have to come and test those bridges before they can actually put the trains back on those structures.
Okay, thank you. My next question is on item page 30, item 64. Maybe Tim, you could come forward. So in this item, we originally were going to replace 62 signs on the And I guess this also goes back to the Transportation Asset Management Plan. And when we adopted that plan, there was a lot of discussion about new high reflective signs and how if we do new high reflective signs, we'll have savings. This project, though, ends up with the signs costing about $84,000 a sign. So walk me through, you know, from an asset management standpoint, what was the decision-making process to go through this? What's defective or deficient about the current signs, and what is the decision-making process in your district for this?
Okay, thank you, Chair, Commission. Tim Gubbins, Caltrans District 5 Director. Yes, in aggregate for the sign replacement program, it is very cost effective. With these because we have both the ground mounted on 1 or 2 posts as well as our large overhead signs. All of the signs in this project happen to be the large overhead signs, not just the ones off to the side of the road. And as we were doing our sign program as part of our asset management, looking at the entire inventory of signs, these box beam girder signs had issues, and we needed to get up there and replace and work on the signs as well as replacing the panels. So yes, the cost is much higher than we would normally have per sign panel, but the cost is because they're on structures and we have to do some structure modification, as well as the fact that these are all in urban areas. So to get a crane lift up there, to lift the panels up, to get the workers there, we're doing traffic control with limited windows. So a lot of the cost goes into managing traffic through the project as well.
Your PS&E cost is $1 million on this, is that because you're changing things significantly, or is that?
Yeah, we had programmed and allocated already on this $1 million, looking at the larger number of signs. And it was because we needed to get out there, we needed to do traffic control during the design phase in order to do sign inspections to make sure that we could modify the structures. And because all the sign structures that we're talking about are outdated structures that aren't just our standard we can place a new sign on. All of them had to be measured, modified for this particular project. So it took us a lot more engineering than you would normally associate with just a sign panel replacement.
So is the sign not to standard, or is the structure in need of, is it in danger of any type of failure?
Yeah, some of them had structures that had rust and different things, and based on that old design, we could not inspect the interior without taking them apart and things like that, which led to the design costs being as large.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing no more discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? If abstaining, that motion carries. Okay, now we're on you.
Commissioners, tab 95 is an action item to adopt the 2019 Active Transportation Program, California Conservation Corps, and Local Community Conservation Corps program. Staff is recommending approval of the proposed list of projects, which is included in your book item as attachment B. It includes 17 projects for fiscal year 2019-20 totaling $4 million. The Commission staff recommendations are consistent with the recommendations made by the California Conservation Corps. Staff is also recommending approval of the 2 projects on the substitution list included in the book item as attachment C. The proposed list of active transportation projects includes recommendations for $2 million for 11 of the 17 projects to benefit disadvantaged communities, and a total of 50% of the funding, or $2 million, for 12 of the 17 projects to be awarded to Local Community Conservation Corps. Staff recommends adopting the 2019 Active Transportation Program, California Conservation Corps, and Local Community Conservation Corps list of projects and substitution list.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tavallone, a second by Commissioner Alvarado. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? That motion carries. We'll move on now. Chris, item 96.
Yes, Commissioners, item 96 is a department information item. Please note there are pink replacement items for the Route 99 Corridor Program and Trade Corridors Improvement Fund reports only for this item. The Proposition 1B reports are being highlighted outside of the consent calendar to address Commission staff concerns with project closeout issues that may require future Commission actions. Guidelines for these programs specify that agencies must provide a final project delivery report within 6 months of construction contract acceptance and the project becoming operable. These have not been happening as frequently as we would like, and it's important to provide these reports so that we can have accurate quarterly reports provided to the Commission and make sure we're producing the most current information to make decisions upon. There's no action required here. We just wanted to highlight this, bring this to your attention at this meeting, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Chris? Okay, we'll move on then to Dawn, item 97.
Yes, so tab 97 is an action item to amend the TCIF program of projects. The San Diego Association of Governments request to add the Route 125-905 connector project to the TCIF program. Staff has reviewed this request and finds it consistent with the TCIF program guidelines and the TCIF closeout policy, and staff recommends your approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Alvarado, a second by Commissioner Dunn. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? That motion carries. Okay, 98, Tom.
Tab 98 is an action item to remove the National City Marine Terminal Rail Project as requested by the Port of San Diego from the Trade Corridor Enhancement Program. The Port has determined it is too early to commit to source of funds for the construction phase of this project as required by the guidelines. If you receive pre-construction dollars, you have to commit to construction within 10 years. The Port is still in the environmental phase, and they have not yet secured funding partners for the construction. So although staff has discussed various options with the Port of San Diego to keep the project programmed, they have determined to not pursue an allocation for their PS&E dollars. Therefore, they are requesting the project be removed from the program, and they will compete in the next cycle of Trade Corridors programs. Staff recommends your approval of this item.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kehoe, a second by Commissioner Tavaloni. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? That motion carried. Item 99, Christine.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tab 99 is an action item to amend the 2018 Local Partnership Formulaic Program of Projects. Specifically, this amendment will deprogram $52,000 from the City of Point Arena Port Road Rehabilitation and Overlay Project in fiscal year 2017-18 due to contract award savings. Therefore, this amendment will result in a new total of 33 agencies receiving program funds for 69 projects totaling $176.4 million. The remaining $23.6 million can be programmed through June 30th, 2020. The item is consistent with the Local Partnership Program guidelines and the adopted formulaic program. Therefore, staff recommends your approval of tab 99 as presented in the staff recommendation.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tavaloni, a second by Commissioner Dunn. Is there discussion other than the fact that Commissioner Van Konynenberg loves it? Okay. Hearing no further discussion, is there, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Okay, that motion carries. Hooray. We'll move on to number 100, Christine.
Tab 100 is an action item to amend the 2019 Local Partnership Formulaic Program of Projects. Specifically, this amendment will program $52,000 of fiscal year 2018-19 formulaic funding to the City of Point Arena, Windy Hollow Road, and Riverside Drive repaving and drainage improvements project, programmed in fiscal year 2019-20. The item is consistent with the local partnership program guidelines and the adopted formulaic program. Therefore, staff recommends your approval of tab 100 as presented in the staff recommendation.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gilmetti, a second by Commissioner Tavaloni first, I believe. So any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining. That motion carries. Okay, Lori, 101, please.
Commissioners, tab 101 is an action item to approve the Active Transportation Program baseline agreement for the Humboldt Bay Trail South project in Humboldt County. Staff has reviewed the baseline agreement and finds it consistent with the program guidelines, and staff recommends approval.
Okay, well, I heard a little chorus here, so we're going to go to my left with Commissioner Van Konynenberg, and in the soprano section for a second, we have, mezzo. Okay, mezzo. Okay, it's beautiful anyway. For a second, is there discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? That motion carries. Dawn, up 102, please.
Tab 102 is an action item to approve the Trade Quarter Enhancement Baseline Agreement Amendment. This amendment will update the funding plan for the Route 102-905 Connector Project in San Diego County to include the TCIF funds that we just programmed under Item 97. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends your approval.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Alvarado, a second by Commissioner Dunn. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining? That motion carries. 103, John, do you get to do 3 today?
Yeah, racking them up. Item 103 is a department action item requesting an allocation of $391,832,000 of construction funds for 47 SHOP projects. Please note that the change list includes a small change to one project on the list. Commission staff has reviewed the projects for conformity with their programming in the 2018 SHOP and consistency with the Transportation Asset Management Plan and recommends approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tavaloni, a second by Commissioner Dunn. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining? That motion carries. Item 104, please, John.
All right, item 104 is a department action item requesting an allocation of pre-construction support for 97 SHOP projects totaling $99,503,000. Please note that one project on the change list, which has been withdrawn, so that's why the 98 went down to 97. Commission staff has reviewed the allocation requests to confirm the appropriateness of the support requests and to confirm consistency with their programming in the 2018 SHOP. Staff recommends approval of these allocation requests.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tavaloni, a second by Commissioner Alvarado. Any discussion? Paul?
Yeah. I just, on page 6, just highlight on Highway 37, the environmental work, we're allocating $10 million to that. I think all of us are in agreement that obviously Highway 37 needs a full corridor plan, and I would hope that our $10 million that we're allocating is would be for more than just the 2 miles that are in question, but hopefully we can stretch that to look at the whole corridor. So, and I know that's the intention to try to do that, but this gets us started on the worst part. So.
Okay.
So, is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Motion carries. I'm sorry, Susan, did you? No? You're okay? Okay, then we're going to move on to item 105. John?
Item 105 is a department action item requesting an allocation of $25,851,000 to advance the construction of 6 SHOP projects originally programmed for delivery in fiscal year 1920. Commission staff has reviewed the projects for conformity with their programming in the 2018 SHOP and consistency with the Transportation Asset Management Plan and recommends approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Dunn. No. And then a second by Commissioner Tavoloni. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? That motion carries. Okay. We're up. Moving on.
Me? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Commissioners, item number 106 is an action item requesting a right-of-way capital allocation of $15.2 million for a shop safety project on State Route 70 in Yuba County. Right-of-way capital is currently programmed in fiscal year 2019-20. However, the department has been working to fast-track this safety project and is requesting an advance of the right-of-way capital funds. Changes to Resolution G1901, which you previously approved, require that projects having a right-of-way capital programming of $10 million or more must receive commission approval for those allocations prior to expenditure of funds. So this represents the very first one of those. This project currently is programmed with an estimated right-of-way capital of $9.8 million, but an updated estimate of right-of-way capital was completed and this estimate reflects costs associated with the extensive number of impacted parcel, increase in the total acquisition area, and the discovery of additional utility conflicts. There's a related SHOP amendment to increase the right-of-way capital to the $15.2 million. And there were a few changes noted on the change list for this item. And with those changes, staff recommends approval.
I have a motion by Commissioner Gilmetti, a second by Commissioner Van Kynenberg. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstain. That motion carries. Okay. Back to you, Chris.
Yes, Commissioners, item number 107 is a department information item to present the preliminary closeout report on the fiscal year 2018-19 minor program annual allocation. At the June 2018 Commission meeting, the Commission approved an allocation for fiscal year 2018-2019 of $150 million. As of June 3rd, 2019, Caltrans has expended a total of $143,885,920 of this allocation, which constitutes 96% of the approved allocation. The final SHOP minor program closeout report will be presented at the October 2019 Commission meeting. Commission staff has reviewed this information report and has no concerns. Are there any questions regarding this item?
It's just information. Yeah, it's just information. Okay. Not till October. Okay, Chris, you're up again.
Commissioners, item number 108 is a department action item. There are changes for this agenda item as noted on the changes to the agenda list. Caltrans is requesting $150 million for the minor program annual allocation for fiscal year 2019 and 20. The request is supported by the project list containing 51 projects, which is attached to this agenda item. Commission staff has reviewed the projects in the allocation request and recommends Commission approval.
So moved. Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Van Kynenberg, a second by Commissioner Dunn. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstaining. That motion carries. 109. Chris?
Yes, Commissioners. Item number 109 is a department information item to present the preliminary closeout report on the fiscal year 2018-2019 right-of-way annual allocation. At the June 2018 Commission meeting, the Commission approved an allocation of $170 million for fiscal year 2018-2019 for right-of-way activities. Through May 14, 2019, Caltrans has committed $106,628,361 and plans to spend an additional $21,483,639 for the remainder of the fiscal year. The forecasted remaining balance will be $41,888,000, of which $20,888,000 is for the Coordinated Border Infrastructure Program, which will not be encumbered due to design plans not being complete enough for utility owners to begin work on their relocation plans. $21 million of the remaining balance is for the State Highway Operation and Protection Program, which will not be encumbered due to the determination that multiple mitigation service contracts will not be fully executed by June 30th, 2019. So the final report will be presented at the October 2019 Commission meeting, and Commission staff has no concerns with this report. Are there any questions for this item?
No questions. So then we will go on, Chris, to item 110, please.
Yes, Commissioners, item number 110 is a department action item. There are changes for this agenda item as noted on the changes to the agenda list. Caltrans is requesting $178 million for the fiscal year 2019-2020 right-of-way annual allocation, which that includes $22,980,000 for the Coordinated Border Infrastructure Program. Attached to the book item is the proposed project list and associated right-of-way capital costs. Commission staff has reviewed this allocation request and recommends Commission approval of this item.
I have a motion by Commissioner Gilmetti, a second by Commissioner Dunn. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? That motion carries. So I think we're going to call it a day. We can